What is up, guys? Andrew with Pride. Today we have got the man behind the camera, Glen Barbosa. We talked, we ended up getting a little bit onto fitness, obviously, but for the most part, it was just about what it is like creating content, what it's like to, I guess, see content and just know if it's good or bad, what kind of helps him to see, when is this going to be effective or when is it going to flop? And even one of the most important things, in my opinion, that a little growing pain that I had to go through, what equipment you should start with when you want to start recording content. And this is whether you are in the fitness industry or any other kind of industry, really. So that being said, guys, let's get into it. Glen Barbosa. What is up, everybody? Andrew with the Pride Fitness and Movement podcast. And today we have a very special guest. This is Glen, the man behind the fucking camera.
I am the man behind the camera.
You've never actually been. I know we've had you talk and stuff like that from behind it. You've never actually been on camera with me, have you?
No, it was only one episode, but it was. We're talking more about your arm.
Oh, you're right. That was when I broke my wrist. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Oh, dude, I did such a bad job following up on all that. I was gonna make so much content about it and be like, here's how I trained through my whole thing, and then it was basically just I squatted for 3 months and that was it. So it's like not a very entertaining recovery, but it is what it is. But anyway, yeah, man, it's you've been behind the camera for me for at this point 2 years.
So I think it was October 2020, if I recall. That was the first time I've shot video content with you, and I really I started my business in February 2020. So you reached out. And yeah, I just remember it's like literally right here in front of the gym. I know exactly where we recorded.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was so funny too because we were like doing all these like funny things, like trying to capture like different kinds of lighting, and then it got to the point where it was just like it's so smooth now that it's just like we fucking walk up, set up, we fucking go. It's like way quicker. And obviously podcasting is. We set this up, we set these up, we're good to go.
That's right.
Or at least theoretically, it's easy. I don't know how it is on your actual end, but yeah, man. So I'm the only fitness person you're shooting right now, or you got a few you're shooting?
Who am I shooting fitness wise? You're the only one right now. Okay. So far.
There's a few people that have like reached out and stuff, and kind of somewhat in talks with them. But what is there anything that's really different about shooting this kind of content compared to everything else?
Compared to this one, I feel like this one's a lot simpler. But when it comes to this content, what I like about it, I get a lot of benefit because I didn't work out when I met you. I still ate junk. I ate whatever. But as soon as the information started coming in and just really getting into it, like it was too much truth and coming into my life that I couldn't deny. Like, oh, what am I doing with my life? Like, why am I? So that's kind of like what got me inspired and why I wanted to do it, because I wanted to learn the fitness stuff, and it was so hard for me. But after time, it's like, no, it actually wasn't. It's actually really easy. It's the complete opposite. I just wanted to look for the right information, and that was really the key, looking for the right people.
Easy in what regard? Like, in what way was it easier than you expected?
Misconceptions. All the misconceptions.
Oh, just like all the shit where you'd be like, hey, well, like, what do you think about this? And I'd be like, that's bullshit. That's true.
Yeah, exactly. When I remember just like, what is it? Like going to the gym, like, I don't know. I just remember all the misconceptions. Like the first time I trained with you, I just remember, oh gosh, he's going to tell me to go do some push-ups, sit-ups. I'm so weak at it. Like, I do not want to be working out hardcore on the first day. And it was a complete opposite. It was more of like you evaluating my body first and understanding what I ate, what I drank, what time I slept, all these little details that I would have never thought of. And then I was like, this is perfect because it's exactly, you're putting me in the right position. And I thought that was really cool. I was like, dude, this is the way to go versus just going out there. And I've trained with a lot of people, with my friends, and I just don't like it. It's like, do 20 reps. And I'm like, dude, this is my first day. Like, I don't like doing this. Like, I'm not going to show up no more. Like, it's discouraging.
I get that.
And now I can do it over time.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's definitely worth the wait.
Yeah.
So I like the fitness. That's why I learned, that's why I got into this fitness. I got into the fitness, but it's all information. And I think one thing I'm learning here is to just be different. Like, what is it that's gonna make what's gonna be different from you? The branding is so important. I think the branding, keeping everything consistent, your colors, and I've heard some feedback from even like S. Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
He even said like, hey, Andrew, you keep a good track on the branding, like your colors, your color scheme. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. I'm doing something right. So I think that's so important because people will know your branding and keeping it consistent, because if they look you up, they'll know, hey, this is the brand, this is the one I trust. So but there's a lot of work to it. I think there's a lot of work when it comes to like even evaluating tags, like, because that's my number one goal, is like really finding out how am I going to increase your views, how am I going to like, how does that work, like, because it's just not just putting content out there. There's got to be another way. And that's the discovery mode.
Dude, there's so much stuff that like we've pumped out together where it's like, I think a video is gonna absolutely kill it, and then like it gets like 4 or 5 views or something like that. And you know, we're talking YouTube, not Instagram, where it's fairly easy to get views, but it's shocking sometimes, like how the algorithm will like work not against you, but it's like how it just doesn't work in your favor necessarily.
Correct.
Have you noticed that you consume more fitness content since you've started like shooting it?
In what way? Like I'm
like watching more videos, or
oh, absolutely.
Are there any things that you notice consistently fitness people like that their content is like lacking or doing really well in, or anything like that?
Well, the ones that I like are the simple ones, just get to the point kind of deal. Because I know now, like, I mean, I'm aware of like anybody that shoots 10 minutes plus, or 8 minutes now, I think, plus, they get more ad revenue, and that's why they're doing it, versus people like, and they do it on like, it doesn't matter what content it is. It could be about cameras, it could be about fitness, it could be about anything, but if they shoot 8 minutes or more, you're getting double the ads.
So they're really stretching like basic concepts out. Exactly.
Unless you can get really creative and get the mind engaging, then for sure it works, but and get to the point. But it's just I don't know. I guess I trust your content more. Honestly,
I appreciate that.
I really do, because I think when I ask you a question, you really have the answer for it. Or even out of the blue, you'll be training me, and then I'll just ask you a question out of the blue, and then you'll have an answer for it. And like I said, I've always tried to prove you wrong.
Yeah, that is a fun thing. The first time you brought that up to me, it made me laugh hella hard. Essentially, you guys, we would talk about something. I would tell him, hey, do X, Y, and Z, and then the next day the next like week when I saw him, he'd be like, it worked, and I was like, what? And he's like, I tried to prove you wrong, so I did everything that you told me to do, and it worked. And like it kind of kept becoming, or it's become like the theme more or less now, where he's like trying to like, he'll do everything that I say just so he can be like, hey, that didn't fucking work. But it's like, it doesn't always work, but it's like, yeah, it's been kind of a funny little thing. I think you and I were talking about that, where I was like, whenever I talk to a mentor about stuff, if they tell me to do something, I find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I want to at least show like, hey, I hear what you said, I tried it.
Exactly.
Minimum. I don't want to be like, yeah, that's just not going to work, and just write it off immediately. Like, I'm asking them a question for a reason. What is there any, like, so hypothetically, someone wants to get into podcasting. This is becoming more and more and more common as time goes on. I mean, it seems like it almost seems like if you're more likely to have a podcast than you are to have a fucking car at this point. Everybody has a podcast. There's so many different ways to shoot it out there. There's people who do like really, really bare bones ones where it's just like, a basic mic and a basic camera. Sometimes not even a camera. What, I guess, if somebody wants to start a podcast, wants to start getting into this kind of stuff, what are like some things that you personally would encourage them to look for?
Maybe not just to look for, but just start. I think that's the number one thing. And even with the minimum equipment, like, and you know how we started, right? We never had these mics. Yeah. All right, it took time to get to this point, but I see the value now with different types of equipment. But I think it's just starting and putting yourself out there. And you even gave me a statistic that I did not know. After 20 podcast episodes, most people quit, or before, or whatever it is.
Yeah, like most podcasts, it was a certain number. I think it's like it was like 90 something or I said it on episode 20. That's all I know, but it was like 90% of podcasts or something like that. And before they reach episode 20.
Yep. And I was, my friend, like one of my good friends, like he went to go like the top podcasters, and they just said doing podcasts is making you very like current. So you're really like, that stuff is like, it's fresh. Right. And it's you. It's your authentic self. So you're hearing the authentic self of Andrew versus the scripted one videos that you hate the most, right?
Yes, fuck.
So people see that, they can trust that, and there's like, hey, he's being consistent. There's a level of consistency in his, and there's authenticity. Oh, okay, he goes to the bathroom, he does things like I do. So that's what that's one thing, is authenticity. I think the podcasting, just be authentic and be yourself.
Podcasting does make people real.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
I remember, when I used to listen to Joe Rogan religiously, and now I'll pop in every once in a while if there's like a speaker that I like. But I remember like the first time I heard him, he's like, hey, I got to run to the bathroom real quick. In the middle of the podcast, just gets up, runs to the bathroom, and then comes back like nothing. And I was like, damn, like this is very real, very raw, and it's like the podcast where they have no cuts, and that's, with very, very rare exceptions where like, private information or something like that is made into a podcast. I don't think we've done a single cut in this podcast, and I like that, having it be just very real. So you hear, the dumb shit, you hear all the ums, you hear the, there's another you hear the like dead air and stuff like that. And I think there is something about that that's fun. When you get like the mini clips, might be cutting all that shit out just to kind of expedite the listening.
Right.
But yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. Making it as genuine as possible. Like anybody who listens to this podcast who doesn't know me, which is weird to think that there actually are people who listen to this that I've never met now. Like we're kind of at that point. Hello, go find me on Instagram and tell me you heard this. I would love to hear from you. At Andrew PFM. But those people, if they came and talked to me in real life, they'd get the exact same person that they're talking to on here. You know, like I don't feel like I deviate from it at all. And I think the best podcasts kind of have that same feel. It's like you are hearing a like genuinely who that person is.
Exactly.
That's fucking neat.
It is cool.
Yeah.
And you've inspired me to do my own podcast. And
really?
Yeah, of course.
You're starting?
Oh, of course.
When?
I'm like, oh gosh, like I'm still in the fear, and
bro, you gotta take your own fight. Literally, you just said you just gotta start.
I know, that's the thing. That's why I'm like saying it, and I gotta.
What do you want to do it on?
It's gonna be a lot about mindset and business. I think that's one thing that me and my friend, we've been talking about it, and we just get down in the nitty gritty of like what it takes to be like an entrepreneur and the business mindset behind everything, and like. I really want to talk about it because there's so much value to it. There's so much depth. Yeah. And I mean, getting here, there's so many stories I got. Like, one year I rode my bicycle, literally building my business, like, because my car broke down.
Yep,
so it's like stuff like that. You remember that? Yep. Of course you remember that. I barely have a car right now.
Yeah.
So, anyways, with that being said, it's like, that's what I want to do. And I know, you're right. I got to start.
Oh, dude, you ready for your 2 least favorite words?
Oh, gosh.
By when?
Oh, gosh. When?
By when is episode 1 dropping?
Oh, gosh. Let's do May. What's the first weekend Friday?
So May, you're talking in 1 week?
Yeah, might as well.
Right. Hey, I mean, it's the 7th, or the 6th would be a Friday.
6th is May 6th.
So you're recording it or you're dropping it?
I'm dropping.
All right.
I'll figure it out. I might as well.
Episode.
I might as well do it. And and one of the names, I'm going to name it for sure. There has to be a word called authenticity, something about being authentic, because it's something I found out in our conversations. We were just chatting in a coffee shop. It's all about being authentic and vulnerability. And I'm like, dude, that's what I love doing, is the authenticity and being yourself. Like and I'm doing a disservice, honestly. I'm doing a disservice not serving my people by not doing a podcast. So going back to your question, is what does it take to like start a podcast? Your why is always so important. You gotta keep that strong. And that's why right now it's like hard for me, because it's not really painted.
It's not super clear yet.
It's not super clear, but it's like, it's there. There's hints. And of course, I'm like, oh, I don't got the time. I don't got the whatever the excuses that come into my mind. So
there's a part of me that thinks about. No, you know what? I actually remember the like, for anybody who cares, the reason why we ended up starting this is because I kept getting the exact same questions from clients, and I was like, dude, like, how cool would it be to answer these things on a podcast and then be able to just send that video clip over to a client and be like, boom, there's the answer for it, you know?
Right.
As opposed to re-answering the same shit over and over. So I guess what is it for you? You know, what is that why for you as far as you've gathered it so far?
You know, it comes down, there's a couple things. So the why is the reason I do filmmaking, the reason I'm behind the camera is because I love stories. I'm not a filmmaker. I'm a storyteller, right? That's the foundation. And I think a lot of people confuse that and they get so caught up with the equipment and all this stuff. And it just, I don't think you limit yourself versus learning how to tell stories. And I was like, well, I got to learn how to tell my own story. And people got to see what I'm going through. And I think because then people can't relate. And let's say I'm a millionaire or whatever. And just like there's that gap. It's like, oh, he got lucky, or hey, he's all these other excuses that we all come up with. But no, like if you see the progress, I think that's what people want to see is like the progression versus someone just coming from point A to point B. It's like it's that gap. Even on your end, right? Like starting this, like you know, that's I can feel it. Like it's like, oh shoot, I'm doing a podcast, but now people are starting to reach out, and it's like because you're consistent, because you're like, hey, they look at the lights, like, oh, he's not just messing around, he's actually doing it. Like he's committed. That's the word, commitment. So
it's fun. It's fun, dude.
Yeah, it is. I can tell.
Hey, this is Glen. Sorry to interrupt, but unfortunately, due to personal circumstance, we were unable to drop that episode, but we hope you enjoy the rest of this one.
Dude, like that last episode with Ryder, that was so fucking funny. Like that was so fun. Guys, if it'll be the episode right before this, but that was a fun episode, dude. That was super funny and like started off kind of chill. You know, you could tell like all three of us were just like hectic as hell getting here and everything like that. And then like it ends up brushing up and becoming like a super, super fun episode.
Yeah.
But then also like there's good information in it, you know, like all that stuff that she was sharing about like having a good coach for like kickboxing and everything. Like shit, man, that applies to everything.
Yeah, it does.
And that's just a simple conversation that gets had that, you know, maybe someone hasn't necessarily heard before. But getting all off topic again, you are behind the camera for a lot of people, a lot of different kinds of content. How do you know when that shit's gonna pop or flop? Like how do you know when you've got good content or shit content on your hands?
Podcasts I can't read. That's just because of the people. It just depends on like how open they are, right? But when it comes to like just looking and observing, I believe it has to do a lot with research now and making it so simple for people to understand. And especially like commercials, like that's kind of what I'm learning to specialize. And there's a lot of information, or everything has been backed up by either a book, backed up by an idea, a feeling. It's a lot to it. And just, I guess the best way I can say is the best content is, and I think it's the word, it comes back to that one word, authenticity. The more authentic you are, people don't care like how good it is edited, all this, but if you're authentic, like if there's something like just as real as it gets, that's what people like will keep watching. Like they're just observing. Just like, I know it's 10 minutes long, but it is kind of funny to watch somebody do this. Like it's weird.
It's got to be entertaining.
That's all it is.
It's got to be entertaining, man. Like it's, and you know, entertaining, people think that means like funny or something like that, but it's like, you know, that's not necessarily what it means. It's just, you know, does it kind of grab your attention in some way? And dude, there's been so many times where I've realized that I failed to do that with a piece of content, and it's like it bums me out because I'm like, damn, the information is good, but the presentation is shit. You know, it's very textbook, it's very boring, it's very droning.
You nailed it.
Sorry, I'm
you nailed
it. But yeah, it's very like it just drones on, and you know, it's like one of the reasons that I stopped going to one of my classes is, and I don't have to be in person, or I don't have to physically be there for it, thank God, but the teacher just fucking droned, man. And it's like there is content. There's definitely a double-edged sword to it, because then you end up with people who are really good entertainers putting out bad content, but it picks up really well.
Right.
You know, And that's almost why it's our job, and I'm using that as like anybody who's watching that's producing good quality content that's actually educating or helping people. It's the reason it's our job to actually produce this kind of shit, is because there's people out there that are pumping out trash all the fucking time, and like you and I have had so many conversations about business and life, and you were definitely like one of my, it was like you and Cruz, excluding Bryce and other Glen, of course, because they were like big mentor level people for me. But you guys were like the two people like on my level where it was like we were all trying to do something, and we all kind of had that same thing where it was just like there's so much shit information out here that we all wanted to do something with it. And yeah, dude, even just like your fun little clips, like just little ones that you've always like pumped out. I think your shit's gonna be cool.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I that's even like though I've just been because I've been inspired. Like I hear feedback. Like one thing I do, I'm really good at it. Is just taking the feedback. Like really good. It's like, oh, I really love this. Like those are the things that I listen to all the time. Take that. Like if you want to be a good content creator, listen to what people say. They won't tell you directly, but hear them like naturally. Like, oh man, you're so positive. Okay, double down on that.
Yep.
Like keep downing on that. And then one of them was like, hey, I really like your video. It reminded me of Bill Nye. Okay.
Oh,
perfect.
shit.
So what did I do? I went to go study Bill Nye for a couple episodes.
Dude, I agree with that.
Exactly. And
wow.
I took some things from it. Like, oh, I see what he's doing. And he's talking about fire. And it's just different images. Fire. But it's like, but it keeps people engaged. It's like, oh gosh, it's just keeping people engaged. And I'm testing some new things now. I'm like, I have an old VHS camera, right? And I'm learning from, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of him that is breeding into me. I'm realizing, oh, he's just like me. He's just like me. So I gotta make these commercials. I'm learning to be like, okay, what is everybody shooting now? High quality HD 4K camera. Okay, how do I separate myself? Shoot on an old camera. Because now you're so used to 4K scrolling, 4K high definition. Now, what if you saw something that was super old but modern, right? Oh, okay. Now I might just
kind of grabs your eyes for a few seconds.
For a few seconds,
but I better pattern interruption.
Yep. And then you got the hook. The hook is the number one thing. You got to get them a couple first 3 seconds, and then that's got to lead on. There's got to be, and then that's where that you were saying on my clips, like fire. Like I'll throw them in there every once in a while. Right, I'll throw them in there every once in a while. But I'm going back to, hey, I got to talk about the information, because it's important. I got to give them the content. So there's a formula. I'm still testing it though. I'm still learning. It's not fully there, but I'm getting closer.
One of the strange things that I've seen come into the, I suppose we'll say like more short term content. So people are shooting like 1 to 5 minute long videos and stuff, is cutting out every single chunk of dead air. So if there's an or a breath or a pause, it's just cut. And I hate that shit theoretically. But it is crazy how well that keeps your attention, just because it keeps snapping to the next piece every second. Like it's really crazy. How tedious does that get, out of curiosity?
It does get tedious on the editing side, but I know how effective it is and who does it really good. I copy from the best shows. So I just saw this video, and it's called Curb Your Enthusiasm, I think it is. Yeah, and they were breaking it down like comedy at its finest is when you cut everything, all that dead air. So it's like you don't have time to breathe. They'll say a sentence, boom, 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 boom. It's just going back and forth. The dialogue is continuing. And I was like, dude, that's what everyone's doing in vlogging. Everyone's doing the exact same thing. It's just cut. And it works because it keeps people engaged. Like, oh, boom, boom, boom. It just keeps your mind. I don't know what it is. And 15-second reels, 15-second.
Yeah, you have to cut those little clips
They're
out
effective.
too.
They're effective.
Yeah. No, and you need you can't meet that 15 second, or I think now it's 60 seconds, but you can't meet those short time frames without cutting all the shit out.
Yep.
But it's so strange because it's almost like sorry, I'm yawning, guys. I'm on my first day caffeine free. I got you with it. But yeah, there's like, it almost speaks to the fact of like our attention is so low that it's
really
like
is.
it doesn't re-grab us unless it's snapping you back to it every few seconds, you know? It's crazy.
It's the truth now. It's like, but now you just have to get more creative. Like, okay, everyone's doing it, but how do you change that? Like, you always have to be, there's got to be innovation always involved. Always. How do you do that? So that's the questions I've always asked myself. Even with your content, it's hard. Like, it's like I look at it, I'm like, how do I get creative? Sometimes I'll test things. Sometimes it doesn't work, you know, with the edits. But it's like, you give me the opportunity to test it.
It's been fun to do that with you too, because then there will even be things where I'm like, hey, I notice we always get a drop off in videos when this happens. So then we try cutting that out and see how it does. And it's like views improve slightly or God, I can't remember what the word is, where it's like you click away from it. But like that decreases, you know, or there ends up being a little bit more watch time per person. It's like, man, it's weird that, not weird. I guess it's cool to be able to like look at that kind of stuff, have an idea, and then actually see it convert in real time. You know,
Right.
Like the next video you post, it's like, oh, the views are better, and then the next video, oh, the views are better. It wasn't just a one-off. You know, and it's like just from changing one little thing. I remember Mr. Beast actually did an episode with Joe Rogan that was pretty good. I think you'd like it. But he talks about that in the beginning, where he's like, you know, we kind of had like a mastermind with like a handful of YouTube creators, where they were all like 10,000 subs, and they went to 1 million within a pretty close period of each other. And he was like, we were all studying the highest viewed videos, and okay, well, what do all these thumbnails have in common? What do all these videos have in common? And just all that shit to like find consistent pieces, kind of mixed into that. And I think vidIQ does a really good job teaching all that shit too.
Oh, I think you told me about
They do.
that.
They do a really, really solid job. They actually have a little mini course that I was doing for a period of time that kind of opened my eyes up to a lot of it.
Right.
Is there any, do you have like basics? Like, let's say someone wants to get into shooting content and editing. Are there basics where you're like, oh, you know, you should get these kind of mics, this camera, this kind of software? Are there any like go-tos that you recommend when someone, because I'll put it this way, you know, someone comes to me and says like, hey, I want to, get into the gym. What do you recommend I do? And for me, it's always like, make sure that you move yourself, with a push, pull, squat, lunge, twist, and, some form of like walking or running, and eat real food that a third grader could tell you what it is, what all the ingredients are, and drink water. This is like, those are my go-tos, with people. Do you have go-tos when someone's like, hey, I want to start shooting content?
Of course.
Let's hear
I
it.
love my answer.
Let's hear it.
And I can only teach what I know. Right?
Let's hear it.
Your iPhone. Your phone.
Really?
Yep. That's how I started.
Oh.
I look back in my 2017 when I started to record again, and I was just in front of my iPhone. And I think the headphones, when you have the headphone jack, or you still do it, use that because you have a good microphone too as well. You got to be clear, right? If you're doing like content like this or whatever, Bluetooth headphones, and start, because the first thing you got to learn is talk in front of the camera. Right. And what's the number one fear people hate? And I totally forgot about this. This was a fear. People don't like hearing their own voice, right? So you have to get over that. You have to get over your own mistakes. Whatever. If you have a Mac, start with iMovie. That's what I started. If you have Windows, start with whatever they have right there.
Wow.
That's it.
Okay.
Start with that. Don't overthink it. Don't worry about the music. Get some freebie music. SoundCloud. I use SoundCloud, and I just asked the artist, "Hey, can I use your song?" Like, boom. Or I went to like top YouTubers, and then I looked at their music, and they're like, "Oh, they're getting it for free from here." And then I asked, and that's all I did. I was just getting the free stuff because I think you should start out free.
Yeah.
But get over the camera. I think that's the number one fear people hate. And you can hear it. You can hear in people like, "Oh, I don't want to be in front of the camera, man." You know it. So that's the basics. After that, upgrade to if this is something for you, you realize like, okay, this is something for me. The next step would be a little point and shoot camera. No interchangeable lenses.
Is that like the little guy you got back there?
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, let me show you. In a way, this is kind of one of them. Like, but there's this one. It doesn't exchange the lens. But I would recommend something small. Honestly, don't worry about the microphone input. Don't worry about that. Just start simple. Boom. and then that's it. Start like that, and then just keep continuing. If you like it, again, just upgrade your camera, which is the one that we're filming right now. And I've been using, that's a 2016 camera. I tell people that's a 2016 camera, and the one thing that you want to get paid the most is your creativity. That's it. That's the one thing that pays the most, your creativity. And can you get the job done? That's it. That's all that matters, because I've studied these cameras, and I'm like, dude, you don't need the latest and greatest. And not that it doesn't help. Of course these help. Of course they help. They increase production value, but it's honestly just start small.
Did I send you that podcast from the vocalist of Bill Murray?
No, you didn't.
I have to send you it because it is nearly exactly what you just said. There's so he was basically just talking about he's like, you know, people get really caught up with, oh, we need the best guitars, we need the, you know, best drum kit, we need the best recording software, we need this, we need that, we need blah blah blah, you know, it sounds better digital, it sounds better analog, like tubes are better than, you know, this kind of sound, whatever the fuck, you know. And people get so caught up in those things that they end up essentially just never producing content.
Correct.
And he then is like, and this is a guy by himself, has shot like 8 albums recorded 8 albums in like 6 or 7 years or something like that, by himself. Recorded all of it, wrote all of it, recorded all of it, sang all of it, mixed and mastered all of it by himself.
Gosh.
And he was like, some of our best songs are things where I recorded the demo track, and I liked the sound of the demo track when I put it over to the master copy, that we just never even re-recorded it. So he has fully mixed and mastered songs that are recorded on demo tracks. And then he's talking about, I guess one of Drake's number 1 songs are recorded on an iPhone.
Yep.
Because like at the end of the day, it literally is just about getting your fucking content out there. Yeah. And like for anybody who's like, oh, easy for you to say, you know, you've got fucking Glen shooting all your stuff. Go back to my first videos. They're bad. They're really fucking bad. And some of them have a couple hundred views on them. I mean, there's videos that I shot myself during quarantine when I was shooting all the zone exercises from Paul Check in my bedroom with my dogs running around in the background. And some of those videos ended up converting really well.
Right.
And it's funny to look back on those things, because I was like, you know, I was doing it on my phone. I was using the InShot app to do all the voiceover work and to edit words onto everything. And then at some point in time, and this is you tell me, but I feel like there's definitely a point where you have to be like, okay, fuck it, I got to hire someone else. Or you have to start specializing in that kind of stuff. And for me, I was like, okay, it took me, you know, an hour to mix or to edit this 3-minute video. I need to fucking hire someone else. Mm-hmm. You know, I charge this much per hour. That means I basically lost this much by spending that time. So it was like, it ended up being so much more cost effective to just hire someone.
Yeah.
And, you know, at some point in time, like I said, you know, when I move, I'll have however much of this shit at my house to shoot at home. But even then, I don't want to have to get super good at mixing and mastering, so I'll just shoot it all over to you to fucking handle.
That's right.
So yeah, some of this stuff you might end up outsourcing eventually.
And even like, just, you'll know too now, right? Hopefully I set the standard on my end, right? Mm-hmm. And then let's say you're in Colorado. Let's see what Glen didn't do. Or, hey, maybe you can help me, like, because I still need to get mentored. I still need to get taught. Like, I still watch videos to keep my mind.
Of course. Never stop
innovative, learning. Right? But what if you're over there, you hire somebody, and it's like, dude, it's like, I don't know, you'll notice things that now, like I've been doing, it's like, oh, what about this? His lights, or, hey, he doesn't care about the lights, or, oh, what about the thumbnail? You know, you'll understand. Yep. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I already get it, because I've had clients in the past where they leave me to go work with another trainer, and they'll be like, you know, oh, I started working with this other guy. And then, you know, they tell me like all the shit that he didn't do, or like they ask a question, they didn't have an answer, and it's just like, you know, like, fuck, dude.
That's right.
I hate to say it, like, it's the, you know, the adage of like, you get what you pay for, but it's true. And sometimes like people just aren't gonna fucking do what you want, or you're not gonna get what you need. Sometimes it does take time to, you know, find the right person that you're gonna work with. And who knows, maybe at some point in time I'll just pay someone to fucking record shit and still shoot it over you to edit, or, you know, who knows. But
right.
the one other thing too, and sorry we're going off topic, I'm actually going to keep this office after I move.
Are you?
Yeah, because I'm still going to come here for all my in-person clients in Reno, and work with them. So we'll actually still have this little podcast area too.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, because I still love Reno.
Yeah.
I still fucking love it here.
Of course.
But anyway, anything else that comes to mind that you really want to cover, my man?
I guess it just comes down to if you like doing this, like being behind the camera, you got to really be passionate about it, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work editing and lighting. I mean, there's so much depth and so many layers. I guess that's a better word. There's so many layers into this. Like microphones is one section, camera one section, cinematography one section. Everything has a section that you have to put together. And if you really like it, if you're just passionate about it and you're not worried about making mistakes, you'll do fine. And if you want to make your own content, just be a good entertainer. Be authentic, be you, but learn how to public speak. Learn how to not be afraid to talk in front of the camera, because that's what it's going to be required. Like, that's what's going to separate you from the rest. Honestly, that's it. There is a little bit of magic in editing, a little bit, but half the battle is you too. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's my take.
Getting over your own shit, basically.
Like, even me doing the podcast, I already committed. So, see I have a fear of doing it, because I'm like, what am I going to talk about? How I've been observing you, and I'm like even asking questions, when to cut it off, when to, okay, how do you know when the conversation is going one way or the other? Like, hey, how do I direct that? Like, how do you do that? Like, that's stuff that you got to keep in mind.
Dude, that's funny that you bring that up as something I do well, because I feel like I'm terrible at it.
No, I think at the beginning, you were horrible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
but over time, you got so good at it that you're like, you realize when the conversation started or stopped, or hey, if we went off topic, you know exactly. You're leading. You're doing good. I appreciate that. You're doing really good at the leading thing. So that's really what I've been learning. And that's what scares me.
Oof. It feels, man, I'm not going to harp on too long about that, but I really appreciate that, because I think about that every single time I roll up to an episode. I'm just like, oh man, what if it gets stale? How do I get out of it? You know, and it's like, you start thinking yourself through all these worst case scenarios and shit, and it's nonsense. Like, it's a fucking conversation. Who cares, right. You know? But as one little thing to kind of go off of that, guys, there's a book called Way of the Superior Man, and a lot of people will not like this book at all. But pretty early on, it has a little thing in there where it's basically just about when you are repeatedly talking about something. So the example that they use in this is like a guy finds interest in a woman who's not his wife, and he keeps bringing this girl up, and his friends are like, look, dude, you keep bringing this chick up. Do something about it tonight, or stop fucking talking about it. And obviously you shouldn't cheat on your partners. But that's a really, really good analogy for what a lot of people do, where they keep bringing something up. I'm thinking about starting a podcast. I'm thinking about, buying another house. I want to break up with my partner. I want to do this, whatever it may be. That is one of those things that you can essentially just do what I did with Glen there, where it is, okay, by when? When are you going to do it? And that is essentially a fucking do it or shut the fuck up, which obviously I'm not saying to you. It is I want you to do this and I know you're ready. Yeah. So when? And if you don't do it by then shut the fuck up.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So no, it's time. I think now just being, I haven't done a podcast interview. I don't think I've ever done one. So the thing that I don't like is the first part. It's like the staging, like the tone, I'm gonna not be myself right now because I'm in front of the camera. I'm looking over there, right? It's you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you get that. It feels phony.
It feels phony. And as soon as we stop recording, oh hey Andrew, what's up, man?
Yep.
Whatever, right? It's so weird, but there's that thing. I know exactly. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
I just saw it before this.
Yeah, no, dude, like, yeah, fucking Ryder and I just like fucking around, like saying all this dumb shit, and then it's like the last like 2/3 of the episode finally comes in because, you know, the camera's not really there anymore. We're just two friends talking. But then it's like right before it and right after it, like we're chaos, you know. But yeah, so man, I don't know what it is that gets you there. I think it's when the first really good question gets asked,
right?
Like the one that you kind of lose yourself in, really thinking about it and really considering the question, because it's like, okay, so like right there, that actually just happened. I was not in a fucking studio recording with you right there. I was really thinking about that, like when a good question gets asked and how much it like takes you away, and you start really thinking deeply about it. You know, it's just like, oh man, when's the last question that I got asked that just totally fucking pulled me out of myself? And I'm just like, damn, you know, like, I think that's when it gets normal, or when it kind of cleans itself up, and the camera goes away, so to speak, you know, is when you really lose yourself in the conversation. That's
right. And I think you're right, because I've just, like, looking back, even in this podcast, even your body language, because my body language is like this, right? And then I'm starting to loosen up. It's weird. It's like, okay, I'm starting to laugh. I'm starting to be myself a little bit. So I still have the fear. Yeah. Even though I shoot this all the time with you, I still have the fear of being the host. So,
and you're gonna fucking kill it.
I know I am.
I fucking know you are too.
I know I am. But it's time. Thank you for pushing me.
Yeah, that's right. Fucking May 6th.
May 6th, my first episode.
You got a name for it yet or not? Something with authenticity.
Something with authenticity. So
I have a rule. You cannot call it Authentically Glen.
Yeah, that sounds fair. I don't like it.
It's so corny, dude.
Yeah,
I hate when people do that shit where it's like you know, purely Andrew or Andrew and Magic, you know, that kind of shit. I don't like when people's names are in. It's like come on, make it. I don't have to say it's always bad, but it's just something about it's very like it just like I don't want to listen to those podcasts. It's such a corny name.
And I think it has yours has a theme, right? With fitness, right? So it's like very specific. And that's what I'm finding is like, I was thinking like naming it, what is authenticity? Or something like a question, or something about authentic. Something. I'm not sure. I haven't figured it out yet.
Right. Yeah, I'll think about it more.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
So, anyways, that's all I got for.
Alrighty. Well, guys, you already know, my name's Andrew with Pride Movement. Wait. Pride Fitness and Movement. Forgot I changed the fucking name. Pride Fitness and Movement. We've got Glen with, pick a company name. You got quite a few.
Oh yeah, I'll just do the Elvalle Glen. Glen.
Elvalle Glen.
Elvalle Glen.
Elvalle Glen.
Yes.
Alrighty. Well, my man, I love you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And until next time, guys, we'll see y'all later.